Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family, and this is episode 132. Got a little special episode for you today. We, everybody's kind of been talking about wanting to hear and know different things about Bruce Oakley Incorporated, so we actually got with a boat captain, and me and Miles got the equipment, went out to the boat. They docked here at the North Little Rock Yard, and we went out there and did it in the Wheelhouse. Great episode. Charlie Johnson, I really can't say enough about him. I appreciate him doing it for us and sitting down with us, taking the time to do it. It was very interesting. Miles has got some really good video and pictures of the whole boat, the engine room and all the technology that's used, and I mean, just a good episode of what it's like to be a boat captain for JANTRAN. So, good episode coming up. We'll get right to it, but first let's take a quick break and listen to our sponsor, Aero Truck Sales. Let's listen to one of Oakley's owner-operator experience with Aero Truck Sales.
Called Kenworth off of 440, called Peterbilt, called Freightliner. None of them wanted to work with me. So Jeremy Kellett got me over to Trey Visor. Me and him had a conversation. He sent me to Keith Wilson and never looked back from that point. I was upside down $29,000 and change. They paid off all but $5,000 of my loan on a blown truck. That right there said a lot to me. They were willing to step outside of their comfort zone to get my deal done. I never felt like a customer. It was more like a family feeling. He took care of every aspect of the deal. He was completely transparent. There was no hidden nothing.
So if you're in the market for a used truck, you owe it to yourself to call Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri. Tell him you heard it on the Oakley Podcast. So one quick update real quick. I'll make it, got two little things. One is congratulations to Joe Sims, or just a thank you to Joe Sims. We had a customer, BASF, reach out to us, and they wanted to be sure and they sent us an email and wanted to let us know, or actually Jody said, please let Oakley know that their driver Joe that brought today's load was very knowledgeable and did a great job in assisting. I feel like today was a great learning experience, and that's because people like Joe Sims takes care of our customers. And the next email was, hey, Bradley, how can we get Joe once a week? So, that's the way it is. You get good service and they want you back. So thanks, Joe Sims, for doing that. The other quick thing is we really need some guys to swap to pneumatic tanks. So if you've been thinking about swapping to pneumatic tanks, now's the time to do it. It's real busy on the pneumatic side, and I know there's a lot of details that go into that we'll get into if you want to call a recruiter or call a pneumatic dispatcher and talk to them. But swapping divisions is something. You have that option here at Oakley Trucking. Thank goodness. It's good. You get to swap divisions. You never lose. Your tenure that you've been here. Nothing changes. But pneumatic is where. That's the top pay here at Oakley is the pneumatic division. So if you got questions about swapping, call recruiting department, I'd just call, a lot of times the pneumatic division, you can get some details on what's going on there and what they're looking for. So, all right, let's get started with Charlie Johnson, episode 132. Where are you from, Charlie?
Northeast Arkansas, a little town called Maynard, right up on the Missouri
You're
line.
lying.
I'm dead serious.
You still live there?
Yeah. Actually, I'm the mayor of Pittman. It's me and the dog didn't want the job. So
Well, have you ever heard of a town called Biggers?
Yeah, man, right across the river, right down the river.
That's where I was born and raised.
I was born and raised on Current. You know where Current View is?
Oh, man, yeah.
Right across the river. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to school at Biggers, Reno. That's where I graduated high school.
I went to Maynard.
And that Maynard Tiger.
Yep.
I'll be dang.
Used to have to ride a ferry to get across to you.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't remember the ferry? Reno Ferry?
No, they're at the 308 bridge or
328.
Yeah, 328 bridge. Yeah. I'll be dang.
Yeah.
I didn't know you used Maynard. Maynard, Arkansas. You born and raised there, lived for a whole life?
Pretty much.
So how did you get to be a boat captain?
Oh, just bad luck, I guess.
Right.
My brother was doing it, and he talked me into it. I wanted to whoop him at first, but I ain't left yet. So,
how long you been here?
About 20 years.
At JANTRAN?
Yeah.
So, for everybody who don't know, JANTRAN is a company owned by Bruce Oakley Incorporated, and it consists of, I don't even, how many boats is there, Charlie? 20?
We've got about 15 line boats, I think, and then we got 3 that runs the lower, and then all these fleets all up and down. Of course, Dennis got stuff at Muskogee and at Port 33 and down in Louisiana, and
right.
He's got a pretty good handle on things on the Arkansas River.
Was it hard getting trained or licensed? I don't even know what you have to be a boat captain.
Well, you've got to be on a boat for about a year and a half before you can ever start. It's on board time, not your days off. Before you can ever start training, then you go through a mate steersman program, and that lasts for another year, and then you have to. That's with being evaluated before you can step up to a pilot's license. You have to do that for another year before you can get on to a master's license, and you have to, of course, various things all in all stages. You have to CPR, first aid. You have to firefighting. You have to document and prove that you can ride with an approved person that make sure you can make all these bridges, capable of handling the boat in different types, weather, tows, water.
So it sounds like, I mean, you got to put your time in to be a captain. I guess you said the master's?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It takes you about 5 years to get a master's degree, a master's license.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And that's when you start learning stuff.
That's when you start really learning, when you get up here and figuring out how to drive this thing.
Yeah. Well, it's, you pretty much got to oversee everything. We've got engineers that take care of the engine stuff, but you're responsible for their stuff. And you got an 8-man crew, and you pretty much got to direct all them. You order groceries, order supplies. We're taking on water now. There's only so many places you can get it, only so many places you can get fuel. So you got to make sure we're able to keep on going.
How much fuel do you carry on this boat?
50,000 gallons on this boat.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long will that last you?
Well, rule of thumb is a gallon per horsepower for 24 hours if you're hooked up, pushing ahead on it. So we're 4,000 horsepower. It'll last us a couple of weeks.
No kidding. And I guess, this thing, it's a massive boat, and I guess it's got to have power. How many barges are you typically pushing?
Arkansas River, 15 barges because of the lockage situation. Any more than that, you're spending too much. You have to triple lock. We can only put 600 foot through a lock at a time. So we can put 3 cuts through in one, and then come back, take the boat 2 more cuts. Barges are typically 200 foot long.
So that means, I'm not versed on the terminology. So that means you got to drop a couple of them off. And
we break them in half. We'll be 3 wide, 5 long if we got 15 barges.
Yeah. So the whole thing can't fit in the lock.
No, we have to break it apart. We'll shove it into a lock, break it apart, back the second cut out. They'll close the gates, and they'll lift the water up to whatever the next water level is.
Right.
Up at Dardanelle curves, a couple of the biggest ones. That's nearly a 50-foot lift. And then we pull them out, come in with our second cut. They lift us up, put it all back together, and drive on up the river.
So you're out here for, you told me, 28 days
28
at a
days.
time?
Yes, sir.
And then you're off how long?
14.
14 off, 28 on.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that for over 20 years.
Yeah, some people do it day for day, 28 and 28, but
I got you.
This boat is 28 and 14, so.
Nice. I was saying, coming up here, it's the first time I've ever been on a boat, which, I should have been on one a long time ago just to check it out. But you got some pretty good security down there. Me and Miles were coming on here, and they checking us out before we get on here. What kind of rules you got?
It's a secure area. You have to have a TWIC card, a Transportation Workers Identification Card. You have to be, if you don't have one, to go in is considered a secure location, a secure facility. So if you don't have one, you can come on board as long as you're escorted by someone. We have to sign in everyone that's non-personnel. 1,400 tons per barge if we're pushing fertilizer, so
It needs to be secure, doesn't it?
They're pretty particular about that.
Who is that? Who regulates that?
Coast Guard,
Okay,
Department of
gotcha.
Transportation, Coast Guard, Department of Homeland Security. We all fall under that heading.
You got to pass inspections every so often?
Yes, sir. We're an inspected vehicle or vessel. We've got to be inspected every 5 years, and we have internal audits several times throughout the years leading up to that. And we can be boarded at any time and make sure we're up to specs.
Do you have to have, like, I'm thinking like truck drivers and stuff, but do you have to have a physical or any meet certain health?
Oh yeah, you've got to have a health
Specifications.
card. Have to pass it. Have a health card called in whenever you're, the longest is at least every 5 years, and if you've got any health problems, they'll pull you in more often than that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like truck drivers. They get it 2 years maximum, and if they got health problems, it's a little bit less every year or month or something like that. So
We got about 15 pages that we've got to go through every 5 years to get recertified.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
You keep it up to date then.
Yeah, that's what's getting a lot of the old pilots, because sitting in this chair here is probably the worst thing you can do for your health.
Yeah, similar to office employees and truck drivers.
Right.
We all fight that, I think, a lot of times, Charlie. So it ain't easy to stay healthy for sure. I bet 28 days on this thing. You got to be creative.
You have to sit right here to be able to see everything.
Yeah.
Of course, I can command everything pretty much from right here, but we still have to do a walk around, make sure everything's up to specs.
So tell me about some of the trickiest situations you've been in pushing these barges. You had any?
High water, you get, it gets really quick in the Arkansas River really fast. You get in the Mississippi, it's more like a super highway out there. The more water you got, the more places you can go. This you're restricted. It pretty much stays in this channel. It just gets really fast and really high. You got to make sure that you can, not how fast you can go, it's how fast you can stop.
Oh, I see.
Lease on with Oakley Trucking, America's dry bulk hauler. Our owner-operators are the top paid in the country, and we will prove it to you. We offer steady year-round freight as well as a yearly annual bonus that increases each year you are leased to us. Oakley has multiple divisions, end dumps, hopper bottoms, and pneumatics, so we are sure to have something that works for your schedule and home time. Check us out on YouTube as well as our weekly podcast, or give us a call today and see why Oakley Trucking is everything you have been looking for.
Can you meet other barges at the same time here on Arkansas?
You have to pick your spots, not everywhere.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of places you can. There's a lot of downbound traffic has a right of way, so if someone's coming down and you can't meet them, or they don't feel comfortable meeting you, you have to find a waiting spot, let them come by, and then proceed on. And if you're the downbound man, it's your obligation to tell the upbound man where to go to get and be in a safe place and be out of your way.
So you learn these rivers pretty good, don't you?
They change all the time, but yeah, you pretty much know every signpost up and down the river.
What all do you travel, Charlie? What rivers?
Pretty much lower Mississippi, mainly right here on the Arkansas River. We go mainly from Rosedale, Mississippi, on the Mississippi, up the White River, all the way up to Tulsa, and then we get on the Verdigris River and go to Catoosa,
Right.
Port of Tulsa. That's head of navigation on the Arkansas Curb
Right.
River system.
Right. How far up the White do you go?
It's actually a cutoff right below Pendleton. You go through the Arkansas Post Canal, and they have actually dug a channel to the White River, and then we go down the White River for 10 miles, exit into the Mississippi.
This low water stuff messing you up here lately?
Oh yeah, places on the Mississippi. Well, it's always low here in Arkansas, so we're kind of used to it. But the Mississippi, a lot of the places were. When I was down there last week, where I normally drive a 10-foot tow through over the top of, was over the top of my wheelhouse, and we're 50 foot high right here. So sandbars where I used to drive over the top of was over. So yeah,
They were that high?
Yeah.
Really?
Mississippi's pretty low. It's smaller than than Arkansas River is in a lot of places right now.
Man. So when you say 10-foot tow, you mean 10 foot deep?
10-foot draft, yes sir.
Okay, I get you.
You can go up to 14 out on the Mississippi. Arkansas, they only guarantee 9-foot Corps of Engineers, but we usually run about 8.5 to a 9-foot tow, 9.5-foot tow.
Do you always? I'm assuming you always know what you're towing, what product you have on.
We have a list. We've got. We have to report it to every lock we go through and what's going through. MSDS sheets, we've got to keep them all on board. So anything that somebody might come in contact with, we know what to do with the Poison Control Center, or whether it's grain or steel.
Now the real question is, what do you think of all these bass boats out here on the river?
Just because you can afford a boat doesn't necessarily mean you need to be driving one.
That's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen that before too.
When you get some empties and they're sticking 20 foot out of the water, 25 foot, and you get somebody cuts in front of you it's a quarter mile in front of you, they disappear. You don't see them anymore. So unless I can track them on my radar or have somebody out watching, if they were to break down, I've got no way of knowing. You
wouldn't know if you just ran over them.
It takes a minute to stop all this.
I bet it does.
Yeah.
Massive horsepower you got on this thing, and controls. I was looking at all your control board there. I mean, is that all just radar and sonar?
Yeah, we've got radar. I've got a swing meter, a digital compass.
What's a swing meter, Charlie? What's a swing meter?
It shows you while you're sitting out here looking. You can't necessarily tell where you're going. It tells you what degree the boat is actually swinging. It's not like we've got a highway or a yellow line.
Right.
You're out in the middle of a bunch of water, so it kind of lets you know that you're turning in one direction or another. The boat is actually moving in that direction. All of our steering's back here in the back, and all of our loads up front. So, 100 foot behind where you're sitting is where we're steering, and we're steering steel a quarter mile in front of us.
I've always wondered how in the world you can turn that stuff. It looks to me like it would take a while.
It does. What you're planning on, had an old pilot tell me when I started that figure what you're wanting to do 5 minutes from now, and that's where you need to start driving.
Yep. Yeah, because I can just imagine. I was picking on you when I was saying about bass boats, because I drive a bass boat. I'm a bass fisherman, but just those little boats, you gotta, when you're pulling up to a dock, you gotta, know what you're doing. Yeah. And I can just imagine a boat like this and pushing a bunch of barges, getting it in the exact spot you need to.
Well, you're a lot more maneuverable in in that bass boat. So,
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's a saving grace, But
Right.
I grew up on Current River, so
we really had to navigate.
We used to run till the gas tank run out. We didn't unplug, and I think about that every time I see somebody disappearing from me. What if they run out of gas when they're right here in front of me?
Yep, because you've done that, but you've run out of gas before on the river, right?
Like I said, we didn't swap tanks till we run out of gas.
Yeah, that's what you did up there. That's exactly right. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about your crew a little bit and what these guys. How many you got on here? Kind of what their jobs are. What all they take care of, Charlie.
We run an 8-man crew. I've got a relief captain that replaces me. We work 6-hour shifts, so 5 to 11 is usually a shift, and then you go to bed for 6 hours, and you're up for the other. The back watch takes 11 to 5. That's kind of rough on everybody for sleep schedules, but you get used to it. And like I said, I run an 8-man crew. I've got a relief captain. I've got a pilot. We kind of all rotate out. I have an engineer that takes care of my engines. My electrical stuff keeps us afloat and keeps everything running. And then we have 2-man deck crews on either watch and a call man that we get up whenever we need him. He's not necessarily up all the time, but when we come do tow work, when we have to make a lock, we need the extra help. He has no regular schedule at all, so it's, like I said, on call. So whenever you need him, you get him up. Sometimes he gets a lot of sleep. Sometimes he doesn't get very much at all. But,
your crew here, they've been with you a while?
Well, it's I think like everything else, it's hard to keep hands.
Yeah.
People move on to better stuff and better jobs and advance. And some of them's been here for a while, but everybody wants to progress. You can't.
Sure.
Anytime a man does something better for himself, you got to applaud him.
Well, you count on those guys a lot, though. I bet you.
Oh yeah,
they're doing their job, so it's just like anything else.
Well, the mate directs the deck crew pretty much, kind of like a sergeant. He kind of keeps everybody lined out, putting barges together, breaking the tow apart. And he works under your supervision. He's pretty much your lieutenant, if you would, and then whatever your level of experience is after that.
Okay. Progression then.
Yeah. There's 4 stages of deckhand, then you get to be a lead man, and then second mate, and then mate.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it depends on how long you've been at it and what your experience level is.
And you went through all that.
Oh yeah. Everybody has to.
Everybody has to. Oh, good.
To get here, anyhow.
Right.
You've been hearing me talk about Lube Zone for a couple of years now. Well, now it's time you hear from one of our owner-operators. Listen to Mike Durbin talk about his experience with Lube Zone.
The price is great. The service is great. But from the time when I pulled in the door to the time I pulled out was less than an hour. Best I've ever had as far as an owner-operator, had my oil changed. Checked the oil. They showed me the oil. They did all the portion on the wrenches. Showed me my rear end oil on the paper, and they did their job. It was very nice to go somewhere, get what you wanted done, and go. I was very pleased with it. And like I said, very satisfied. I will go out of my way from now on to go there.
Check out lubezone.com for all their services and all their locations, and tell them you heard it on the Oakley Podcast.
Yeah, so you're living on this boat for 28 days. It get crowded?
Well, everybody pretty much has their own room with it. One guy gets up and goes to work. There's another guy goes in and sleeps in the same bunk room, so they're not there at the same time. Have a call watch room. Yeah, everybody's pretty much got their own room, but split it, but not sleeping together,
But this is a 24-hour operation.
It never shuts down.
Never stops.
Never
24
stops. Only when you have to take on supplies. Do tow work, pick up stuff, drop stuff off.
And so like that right now, you're stopping, you're getting water here at the terminal. Can those guys leave, or they got to stay with the boat, don't they?
We pretty much stay with the boat. As soon as we get topped off here, we're headed on downstream. We've been doing tow work. We drop 5 barges and picked up 2, rearranged our tow so that we can fit into the lot and travel efficiently downriver. So we'll only be here for an hour or so, and then we're on our way.
So you're hooked up to 2 empties right now? Is that what you said?
I'm hooked up to 4 loads and 4 empties at the moment. I came in there with 12. I'm leaving with 8. We're not hooked up, but we're all the way down to about a mile down there. You see, if you look, that's us.
Oh, okay. Yours is already down there, ready to go. You just gotta hook to it.
We just come up here to take on sundries, take on water, set off trash. There's only so many places you can take on water or take on fuel or set off trash.
Got to plan your stops.
That's it. And winter's coming on, everything's getting ready to be froze up, so you don't want to pass up a water hose.
I got you. I don't blame you.
At the moment, we've only got one place we can take on fuel. We can't get into the port at Rosedale because it's dried up. We haven't been able, Oakley's hasn't been able to get any fuel up here in some time. So
where you get fuel at?
Van Buren was the last place we got it.
Well, that does take some planning, doesn't it?
It does. Everything takes some planning. You run out, you can't just run to Walmart. It's your days are weeks away from getting your next thing.
So you've been doing it 20 years. You enjoy it, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. I'm too old to do anything else.
Oh, come on. What was the hardest thing to get used to living on a boat, Charlie?
Being gone so long, the sleep schedule, you're up at 4:30 in the morning when you're home because that's your normal time. You want to take a nap in the afternoon, and that's when everybody else is getting up wondering why you're sleeping in the middle of the day, Here in the Wheelhouse, learning to sit still because everything you control is sitting right here, and you can't really take off and leave it. You have to monitor everything full time. So,
you got family at home?
Oh yes. I've got 3 daughters and up to 7 granddaughters now.
Awesome. Are they Maynard Tigers?
Oh yeah. One of them just had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Stormy.
All right. That was good.
Yeah. Throw that plug in there. She'll never see it, but maybe she will.
Yeah. Sound like a big family back at the house. What do you do on your off time?
I've got some registered Angus cattle. If you need a bull, I can set you up.
Good to know. Good to know.
It's kind of my retirement plan. Mainly I'm a personal plaything for them granddaughters, I think.
Yeah. They enjoy that, don't they?
Yeah. Now I know why you had kids when you were young. You can't keep up with them when you're old.
Right. We had one of our guests on, and what did he call his truck, Miles? It was because he did an ice cream run. As soon as he got home, he did an ice cream run. They'd all get in his truck and go up to the ice cream store and get a bunch of ice cream. I can't remember what he called it, but I think something like that. It was fun.
Ice cream run.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Supply store is the candy store. Can we go to the candy store, Papa?
That's what it is, huh?
Yeah.
Well, good stuff, man, Charlie. We kind of threw this together real quick out here in your office, and I really appreciate you letting us up here. I wasn't quite prepared on what to ask you, so I just kind of been shooting from the hip on that stuff. But man, you've given us some good info.
Well, you was more prepared than I was. You kind of surprised me. This is the Wheelhouse right here. This is officially the Wheelhouse.
This is the Wheelhouse, and you can tell it looks like you got all you need up here to make these big decisions on driving this thing. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah. Last thing you want to do is hurt anyone.
Yeah.
You don't get over that.
That's right. You did a great job, man. I mean, really, that's good information. I just feel like it's, stuff that I didn't know for sure, and a lot of our listeners ain't gonna know. So it's really good that I appreciate you sitting down with us and doing it.
Well, you're welcome. Sorry about your luck. You didn't find someone better.
I think we'll make it work, Charlie. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
So what a great episode with Charlie Johnson. It was something different that we haven't done here on the Oakley Podcast, and it was really fun to get out there and check out the boat and Charlie's office in the Wheelhouse. And I really thank him a lot for letting us do that. And We appreciate all our listeners listening to the Oakley Podcast every week. We appreciate you guys so much. Keep the comments coming. Let us know what you want to hear. And if you ever got any questions, man, just call us up here and ask us. Once again, we'll talk to you next week.